What is up, everybody? CP and SJ with you for another week of Every Day We're Covering, where we talk the world of sports, wagering, having a good time, having a few beverages, and, of course, enjoying the tail end of the college football season as well. Rivalry week has come to a close. Thanksgiving weekend coming to a close. We hope you had a good one, full of friends, family, football, food, all that good stuff, and powered our way through it. We had to have some extra spoils as far as the food and beverage goes, SJ, because the picks this week were kind of trash. We threw those out with the turkey that you burned in the oven, but other than that, it's still a good weekend and good football to watch.
Yeah, there's just going to be weeks like that, unfortunately, and this was one of them. The games, I guess, were for the most part, I guess we had pretty good weekend as far as entertainment value and that sort of thing. But yeah, there was a couple of stinkers, and unfortunately, we were on a couple of those. But like I said, that's just one of those weeks. And good news is we got a championship week around the corner, and oh man, those bowl games, bowl mania is upon us almost.
Yeah, when we start trying to decipher and dissect on what team has what players left and who's actually going to play in the game, who's coaching the team anymore, all that fun stuff. So yeah, we'll have a lot of fun with that for sure. And yeah, this upcoming weekend, hopefully, we'll turn things around. Like you said. That's the nuts and bolts of this stuff too, because if that wasn't the case, we wouldn't just be sitting here talking about it, and we'd be living on our sunny island somewhere with all the money we make all the time. You're going to have weeks where it's a little bit rough and you miss it on a few, and sometimes that's the way football is too. It's unpredictable. You're talking about a lot of kids out there trying to play a game, and it doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go, or it's maybe supposed to go. And I guess that's also what makes it fun to watch too at the same time.
Well, and yeah, and it's just this time of year as well, throwing the weather, and we saw that. I mean, we weren't I made a play in this game, but that Illinois Northwestern game was wild. Just the scene of that with that field, couldn't even see the numbers, let alone what was going on there. So that's didn't really hurt us too much, except for maybe that Ohio State Michigan, maybe those cold temps kept that offense under wraps a bit. But I mean, it does factor in certain occasions, and you don't always kind of know what you're going to expect from that either. So that's another thing to throw into the mix.
Yeah. So we'll break down our picks, of course, talk about some of the fun games. There are plenty of good ones here over the weekend that we can touch on. And then, of course, we're going to have to dive into the coaching carousel as well, because that is really heated up, especially here today, with a lot of guys taking jobs and everything kind of starting to settle in on who's going where, and a lot of that's been predicted here for a long time. So we'll dive into that as well. And then, of course, we'll maybe preview a little bit coming up here into championship week, how we think things are shaping up a little bit. So plenty to talk about. As we dive into it, we will, of course, get started with what we are pouring down here and trying to, I guess, lubricate all those Thanksgiving trimmings, get the stomach settled a little bit here with the beverages of choice. And I went a little bit different here, SJ. I actually I'm going on a holiday theme, I guess, so to speak. This is something that I made on Thanksgiving Day, and I have like the last few years, just out of it's kind of turned into a semi-tradition, I guess. But I'm not going beer here today. I'm going cocktail. I always like to bust out and make the cranberry mule during the holiday season, and that seems like, of course, very fitting on Thanksgiving Day. We do make the cranberries on the stove anyways, so I usually bust out a few of the fresh ones and toss them in as a little fun garnish as well. But yeah, I mean, basically just a mule, but you throw in some cranberry juice. I usually use the fine folks at Tito's to supply my vodka fix in there, but just a good holiday beverage. So that's what I'm drinking here today, a big old tall one of those. SJ, what do you got pouring?
Well, also you mentioned the holidays. Also, the way to the reality is setting in, that back to usual here in a few hours. So that's another reason we need a couple of these cold ones here, because it's only a couple of days, at least on my end. I didn't have an extended break, but even 2 or 3 days plus a weekend, man, you kind of get in that. It's nice. I'll put it that way. It's nice to have a few days back to back off. It's almost, you don't know what to do with yourself at some point, but you're also like, man, I could get used to this shit. You retire, and like, I got bored. What the hell's wrong with you, bro? Like, I would not get bored. Like, give me all the time in the world, I'll find something to do. So I don't get that concept. But either way, back to what I'm sipping on here. And I was kind of thinking I was going to go holiday, but happened to stumble upon the Casual Animal here in the crossroads section of town in the kind of south downtown district there. I stumbled upon one of their beers randomly just over the weekend, and I was like, man, that's pretty good. I'm going to grab a few more of these, but it's their I think you'd like this one because it seems like you like to snag these when you get a chance, but they make a honey wheat, aptly called Treat Yourself. And but it's actually very, very nice pour, and I don't know if this seems a little bit higher than usual. Maybe I'm off on this one, but 5.5 ABV, pretty good kick there too. But a nice easy drink, and there's a place I like to hit to play. Do some little yard games and bar games and things of that sort, and they do like a mystery beer deal. So basically, just they grab something local, whatever you get. And can't go wrong for I think a couple, $3-4 usually. And then this happened to be it. So I was like, man, I'm going to snag me some more of these. But yeah, Casual Animal here in Kansas City, and the honey wheat, definitely recommend and put that on your list if you haven't tried it yet.
Nice. I'm going to have to track that one down at some point. That does sound good. Yeah, I mean, I haven't had, that seems like a style that had kind of its moment there for a minute, and then it seems to have fallen to the back burner a little bit as far as the wheats are concerned, but I got to imagine that's going to come around again. Everything's cyclical, you're going to have something that's prominent for a little while and then back to something else. And yeah, I think that'll probably come back around here at some point with the wheats.
Well, and definitely wasn't in the plans. I was like, I like the deal too, because all of it's local beer that they do here with these quote mystery beers. So you're getting something local, cool. Helping out the, local businesses. And also, hey, if you like it like I did, you end up, giving them some business on there. And so, I guess a win all around, at least the way I see it. But yeah, I was not expecting to snag. I was thinking more of a Christmas ale or some type of stout or porter, but somehow the honey wheat found me, so I'll go with it.
There you go. Yeah, I'm with you too on the whole, reality setting back in here. I agree. Like in sport, of course, especially this weekend when you have all these football games that are all spread out over every single day. It's
you
like
forget what day it is. You're like, is it Friday? Because you watch college football on Friday and you're like, oh, okay, some NFL tomorrow. Like, oh no, that was only Friday. It's actually Saturday.
Yeah. The kid the other day, even one of our girl was like, "Is tomorrow's Sunday, right?" And it was on Friday, and we're like, "No, it's tomorrow's Saturday, man." We're all screwed up here, but yeah, I mean, when you got that much stuff to just take in and kind of kick back and enjoy, man, it's easy to sit there and burn time. I had no problem doing so here over the weekend, and did get to watch a lot of games, luckily. So that'll be fun to recap some of that. I'll start off here with the game that actually kind of really pissed me off a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. I just feel bad for this program. Like, I don't know when is this going to not be their thing, but my first play of the weekend was A&M against Texas. And now granted, I will say that, Texas has probably played better on an overall scale than we give them credit for throughout the season. I think, of course, some of that too is my personal bias, and yours, I'm sure, the same. Like, we don't like them. We want them to fail. But they've won some big games. They've won some big games this year. They also lost one that they shouldn't have. So we'll send that conversation to the back here until the end. But I just thought A&M just came out just so flat in this game, and there was a sequence there early, and I texted you right after it, and I was like, I just knew that this was like the precursor for how this was going to go. The quarterback tweaks his ankle, gets hurt there for A&M, and you're like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we're going to lose the best player on the field right now as the game's getting started. And then they had a field goal blocked right after that. And you're just like, okay, it's not their night. This is what's going to happen. Texas is going to find a way to win this stupid game. And that's pretty much the way it went the rest of the way. He did come back and play well there at the quarterback spot, so that wasn't necessarily the excuse or the issue. But overall as a team, just didn't make enough plays. And Texas found a way to keep moving the ball down the field. They hit on some big ones, made some big defensive plays as well. And just, kind of one of those typical A&M, misfires, I guess, so to speak. This was their moment. This is their chance to get into that championship game and feel really good about themselves, have a chance to win a conference title, and they come up short. And I guess I feel bad for them at this point in that type of moment.
I think misfire is a good way to put it, because you can't do nothing about the injury, and it was good to see they came back, because hate any team to lose. Like you want to be full strength. You kind of can't feel. I mean, if you got to beat them without their best player, you got to beat them. But it's not like you could go, puffing out your chest and be like, oh yeah, throwing it in their face. Like, well, you didn't beat them at full strength, so at least they lost at full strength. But it was more to me about that. Kind of waiting for it to happen. We picked against them a few times during the season. Either be me or you being like, oh, here's where the other shoe's going to drop, or they're going to kind of go back to being like, oh yeah, we're the big dogs, we're here, and then they piss it down their leg, and they hadn't done that yet. So now you think, well, they passed most of the tests because I didn't think a lot of Texas, and I still don't really. Just watching them play, it's like they have talent, of course, they're always going to, but man, anytime that quarterback throws that ball, it's like, oh, how does that even get where it's supposed to be going? That is an ugly sequence of events. But it made enough plays to win, and but it was, to me, Texas gets the win and gets the credit, but a lot of it was, at least from my perspective, was the fact that it was just another moment too big for A&M, and I think that's kind of what it boiled down to.
Yeah. Well, and Marcel Reed is a really talented quarterback. Like, he's a good player. So, obviously, when he got hurt early, I was like, if he doesn't play, that is a big deal for them.
Right.
But he came back out. And I think the thing that infuriated me the most, and I'm not even a fan of the team, but just watching them a couple of times, is like, you have to find ways to get the ball into the hands of the guys that are the most electric on your team, and they didn't do that all night long. I mean, it was pretty obvious when they made plays out there to Casey Concepcion out on the outside. He's an awesome wide receiver, and I think at one point there late in the third quarter I saw that he had 4 catches, and it was like, well, I remember him making big plays already, so good things happened when you did get him the ball. Why are we not figuring out how to do that more often? That's what was just like so frustrating to me, is like they weren't finding a way to take advantage of where they would have an advantage. And I mean, maybe that's a little bit to Texas's credit. I'm sure they were trying to do their best to keep the ball out of his hands, but in those games, you got to find a way to let your star players be the stars. And I just felt like they really failed on that front.
Yeah, I don't have the targets on here, but I mean, he only had 1 carry, which I know he's a receiver, but you could have got him some, reverse play or some jet action, something like that, and then 5 catches. Like, he's got to have more than that. I mean, that's pretty much what your success is built around. Whether he gets the ball or not, he's drawing the defense. He's a decoy. Everyone's looking at him, and somebody else makes a big play. So, but I mean, at the same time, it's like, yeah, that was definitely an issue. I agree with that. But you have a 10-3 lead at halftime, and then you score to cut it to 20-17 with 9 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
So you got a chance. I mean, you're in it. It's just a matter of you got to make those plays, especially if you're the better team, which I do think. I mean, they are. They just, the better team doesn't always win, and this was a case of that, because you have to make the plays in the big moment, and that's what kind of makes you that championship team is playing in crunch time and making those plays. It's not 65-0 against east-west direction of school. It's these big games that you got to win to kind of earn that respect, and they still haven't been able to do that for whatever the reason. I mean, that was a big factor in this game, but there's been a whole other other times we've seen this happen, other occasions where it's wherever it may be, block field goal, turnover led game, whatever, they just blow it.
Yeah,
and that's what they're known for, and it's going to continue to be that way.
Yeah. And 2 interceptions thrown didn't help, during the game as well. So they made their share of mistakes, but obviously a frustrating game, frustrating pick. I mean, I just thought it was time for them to meet the moment, and they didn't do it. So I'll go down with that one, I guess. At A&M at 2.5, and they didn't come through with it. I will say, a couple of those runs that Arch Manning had were terrific. I mean, he took off in the right moments and made some good plays. So I think that's what he's really good at, and he did take advantage of that a couple of times. So good on them. Now, of course, the BS that we had to hear then, of course, afterwards, and it was already preluded by their coach before the game with Sarkisian whining that it's a disservice to college football if they're not in the playoff. Give me a fucking break. Like, I mean, I get it. Yeah, it does look like you are. I guess in his mind, his argument was they're penalized for playing Ohio State early in the season, and okay, maybe you are, but that's also a choice. You don't have to do that. That's fine. But at the same time, you had more leeway than ever to lose that game and still find a way to get in this thing. You lost against a pathetic Florida team, and that's your fault. I mean, How many times in the past have we been talking about a team that only lost one game that got screwed out of being in a scenario where there was like a 4-team playoff or whatever? We're talking about 3 losses. I'm sorry. I don't feel bad for you.
Well, and even on top of that, you got to go to overtime to slip by Kentucky, who, ends the season with what, not a great year. And then you get waxed by Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so you had chances. I'm not saying that, oh yeah, it's tough. I mean, you only lost 3 games, but that's kind of a, I mean, how many, how long do you want to go? How much do you have to extend it to, who's getting screwed and who's not getting screwed? Like, you kind of know what you have to do going in. If you don't do it, you don't do it. And that's kind of what you got to live with. So when they had the schedule, they knew what games they couldn't lose. They probably knew 2 losses, anything more than that's going to be tricky. And that's where you're at. So, I mean, that's kind of, I think everybody even in the big conferences are in the same boat. And there's not many I'd be surprised if any 3-loss teams get in.
No. And honestly, who feels bad for Texas? Nobody outside of, and of course, one of his whines too is like, well, if that's going to be the way it is, we got to play these tough teams. We'll just go out on our own or whatever, so to speak. Fine. Go ahead. Yeah. I mean, you've been the problem for a long time, so go be your own problem. I don't think anybody's going to cry about that.
Well, and that will change too if Notre Dame ends up getting somehow weaseled out of there too. That independent life won't look so good. I mean, I won't be surprised if they do. They should be, and I think for what they've done. But the way these, it's always been, that's kind of their mode of operation. That the conference, the Southeast Conference, is to kind of just politic and bitch and moan has always been their thing. So, but now it seems that it has been turned up a little bit, especially when you got ESPN talking heads kind of, whether it be these teams or these coaches leaving for other jobs, they're just kind of, it's like their whole life's goal is to wax poetic on this stuff, and whatever they're saying isn't so, it's not as amazing. These words aren't so, aren't getting people's attention and be like, oh yeah, you're right. We need to do what you say. Like they think it's, grabbing all, getting all these people behind them. It's more making them look like even bigger jackasses. Yeah. But either way, they're taking their time and really going all in on it. And man, it's getting to be a little bit much, even considering what's been the case. This isn't been that much different, but it's, it hasn't been that much different. It's just been intensified, and it's getting to be. That's all I was saying. I didn't mind not having ESPN for a few weeks during that YouTube dispute because, man, it's annoying.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's interesting too because you get the other side of this current situation that we've created for ourselves with these gigantic conferences, and we've talked about this before. But I thought it was a good example because I saw somebody post this after the A&M loss, and they spelled it out like, on the other side of things, kind of looking at A&M's schedule and being like, well, I mean, should we have seen this coming? Because they had 7 wins against teams that had losing records in the conference, 4 wins, I think, against teams that were, 500, I believe. And then, a couple of games or whatever that were against, top ranked opponents or whatever the case may be there. Like, I'd have to pull it up to see exactly how it was spelled out, but it did kind of open your eyes like, oh, well, we always think the high and mighty, SEC, they face this gauntlet. Well, I mean, that's the reality of it. Some teams stink in the conference. Some teams are good. Sometimes you're going to get a favorable schedule. Sometimes you're not. And it may be the case that A&M kind of had a little bit of that this year.
And that's probably you look at their wins. I mean, they beat a Texas, San Antonio, Utah State, Notre Dame. You can't. That's a quality win. You can't really dispute that. But you get Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas. The LSU was ranked when they beat them, but we know how their season turned out. They get Missouri, South Carolina, to get that late season at Stanford. So those names don't exactly oh man, that's a murderer's row or anything crazy like that. But then I'm to the point too. It's like there's probably a little bit too much stock put in them, but at the same time you can't only play your schedule. I get that, and they only lost once at the very end. So I don't know how they are. But 11-1, still 11-1. I mean, I give them credit, but maybe we should have. In hindsight, it's easy for us to say man, they weren't that good.
Yeah, I just love the juxtaposition of the argument from one side, Sarkisian, oh, this is how tough this all is, and then the other side you're looking at was it really? I mean, it's all in your perspective, a little bit. I get it. You won some big games, and also, I think A&M's a really good team. I'm not saying they're not, but we all need to kind of take a step back sometimes and not go wildly to one end of the spectrum or the other on how tough or not tough something is along the way. So I don't know. I think that's where we always end up with these weird things that happen when we're hashing out who should belong and not. That's definitely a game that's kind of a microcosm of that. Moving along to another game, of course, that was much anticipated here for the weekend, and didn't hit on this one either, SJ. We were looking to try to get, like you said, the offense is cooking a little bit more maybe than the weather and the snow would allow. It didn't get too far off. I mean, 27-9, 36 points. You're looking for 43.5 in that big game between Ohio State and Michigan. Didn't quite get there. But overall, obviously the way it started looked like, oh boy, here's Ohio State's mental block again. Is this how it's going to go down? And then they did find a way to settle in and kind of take over the game the rest of the way.
I mean, for Michigan, you want to jump on them early, but when they were just settling for field goals, this isn't the way you're going to win it. So I guess that was but it did look a little bit bleak at times there in the early going through at least a whole quarter until Smith made that crazy catch with that. That was interesting too. I don't know if you caught or saw the replay of that little juggling action there. And man, it was during an NFL game, I believe, just with people over throughout the holidays talking about games, and it's like it's one thing for someone who might catch a game here and there, or maybe doesn't even hardly watch football, and they see something like, I don't know if that's a catch or not. But for the people I was speaking with, like we all watch football on a regular basis. They're probably more NFL, but I watch college is more for me, but I still watch them both, obviously, on a pretty much everyday basis almost. And we still don't know what a catch is. People that watch football, because we're like, this was specifically we were speaking about in the Packers and Lions game. There was a pretty crazy catch on the sideline there, and like I thought he juggled it, and they said, nope, didn't even catch it. And I was like, well, that was that foot down when he makes the first catch. But either way, it's like every time it's different. And it's like kind of same with play here. I was like, I think he caught it, but I don't really know. So it used to be like, oh, that's a catch. And now I'm just like, maybe not. I don't know, because it seems like they can just, and before it's like, oh, hit the ground, not a catch. And then like 5 years ago, like, well, it's hit, if your hand's touching it, it can still hit the ground. That all of a sudden changed on that one, for out of nowhere. But either way, as far as the game was playing out, kind of Ohio State was where I thought they would be. I thought maybe they'd get to hit that 30 spot, 31, 34, something like that. So that's what I was thinking about with the play. And Michigan was a little bit under what I thought they could do. I thought, the quarterback would maybe break free on a run, or they hit a big play here or there just to, kind of maybe when the game was out of hand or something like that. So like you said, it wasn't that far off. I just needed like one more big play to kind of get it over the hump there, and they weren't able to do it. So, played how I want. I thought Ohio State would win easily. I just thought there'd be a little bit more offense, but weather, whatever it may be, or just maybe playing a little bit more safe, not trying to, get too crazy. Because it almost seemed to me from, what I saw of it and what I was kind of, gauging from how they were playing, it was almost like we got the big lead, let's just not do anything stupid, and we'll just kind of, coast to the victory, which they ended up doing. And I don't know if you saw, the most entertaining thing I might have saw was little, what's his name? The Brutus, the Buckeye dude. Oh, yeah. Crossing out Xing out the M, and then writing in Ohio with his feet in the snow. And then, of course, what made it even worse, I'm like, okay, that's kind of funny. But then you got some, glorified whatever staff boy come over and, from Michigan and, wipe it out so it's not on the field anymore. So, I understand, this, whatever, hate each other in this rival type thing. But they make it almost like this is like elementary school type of shit. It's they're at the end. Michigan wouldn't leave the field. They're guarding the logo. It's like, what is so sacred about these midfield logos where you can't be anywhere by them? It's like, oh, that's like holy ground. Is there something different when you touch that part of the field? I don't know.
It's just a damn can of paint, guys.
Exactly.
What are we doing?
But they take it almost to I'm freaking, of course, been following, into sports my whole life and enjoy everything about them, but they almost make this be like, dude, this is even too much for me.
Yeah. It is.
God, chill out, man. It's not even that.
It's over the top. And when they were talking about, some of the scenarios and things that happened from last year, and obviously the frustration from Ohio State, the last few years not being able to do it, but when we're talking about like a coach has to have armed security at his house because you're not winning a single football game, but then you go on to win the national title. Like, give me a break, people. Like, you get, and it doesn't matter what they would have done afterwards. Like, it's a football game. At the end of the day, we love that moment. We love that time away to escape in our minds, but you go back to your real life and you do the real life things and it's fine. Like, life goes on. We all love to win. We love to gloat, but it's not the end of the world when your team doesn't get it done. So, it's wild. It's an intense thing. I'm as, I guess, fanatic, as close as I think a lot of people are, but like, that's a whole nother world. I don't know what's going on in your brain there when you're talking about that kind of stuff. Between that game and then, of course, the one later in the evening, Auburn, Alabama, you get some real nutsos involved in those two games. But yeah, good. Ohio State obviously feels great about getting the monkey off their back, getting that win. We kind of thought that they were high and above the best team in that conference for most of the season. I think they've proven that, and they'll now have their chance to go do it in a title game there against Indiana as well. So interesting. I will say, I did want to say with that play too, because I had a buddy text me asking about it because he didn't see it, and he's like, "Hey, what do you?" I was like, "Well, honestly, I thought it was a good play, like." Whatever. Is he bobbling the thing a little bit as he goes over? Yeah, sure. Did I think his foot was maybe still in too? It was real close. Like, you could say whether or not that foot was out when he stepped the next time as he got in the end zone, and he looked like he pretty much firmly had it again at that point. So that's, and also part of the argument. But can we agree that the rule itself is ridiculous? Like, if you have semi-possession of the ball and it goes out, like anywhere else on the field, that's not even a thing. Like, it's just out of bounds. So why is it a change of possession because you cross this one piece of the field? Like, if you want to make that part of the rule, like it has to go back to the one or something, maybe I'm okay with that. But I just don't understand that when it's like all you did was bobble the thing in your hands and now it's going to be the other team's ball. Like, that just seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I've always thought that was kind of strange too. Going back to like the midfield thing, where it's like there's some magical zone.
Yeah.
Once you hit that paint, it's like everything changes. It's like it gets sucked in there. It's never coming out. It has to go back the other way. It's like some type of a portal or something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was always kind of weird. I get the fumble thing, but if you
legit lose it, like that's different.
Yeah. But if that's the case, though, like you said, with the rest of the field, if you lose it, just comes back to if your team gains possession or it gets knocked out, it just comes back to where it was fumbled at. So I don't see any different. But that's all these. Every year there's like something like, oh, this year we're going to do this, or this year this is different. But that never comes up for whatever reason. I don't know if you would have thought a coach or two would bring it up because that's a game changer in a lot of times, or a big play in a lot of games throughout the season. So you'd think it had been brought up at some point, but it's never mentioned as far as like any type of changes to how refs are going to call it. So yeah, I guess they're fine with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's certainly a weird thing, and I think to me it also the other thing that it kind of brings up in the same mold, and this I guess wasn't necessarily real pertinent to that play, but like I really wish we could get to a point where we'd have a lot of rules that are very similar across the two versions of the game, the college and the pro game, because I can see how ridiculously stupid that is for people that are just casual football fans or just kind of know what's going on. And then they're like, you tell them, oh, well, not in this league. No, that's not the rule. Like, like what? How stupid is that? Like, let's just get on the same page. And why shouldn't guys like be able to learn all the way through their time? This is how I need to play. This is what I need to practice. Like, I need to work on having 2 feet in, instead of 1. Like, we magically are, we have to do 2 now because you went to the pros. That's kind of stuff just bugs me, I guess. I wish we would get it as close as we can as possible. Some of them are there for a reason. I get that because there is a difference in the way the games are played, especially when you're talking about high school to the next level. But when you're talking about college or pros, like let's get this as close on board as we can because I think that benefits everybody.
Yeah, any type of safety thing makes sense because there's different levels of the athleticism and just as far as talking about kids versus adults. But the foot thing was the first thing I thought of. Just, I mean, to me, it's like if you have 1 foot in, you're in bounds.
Yeah,
so
that's what I think.
Yeah, that way across the board. Like you're in with 1 foot. If you're standing on any side, any part of your body on that side of that white line, you're in. So I never really got the 2 foot thing, other than like it's trying to be like, oh, they're just superior athletes, so they must have 2 feet in. It's most that type of mindset, but which is, I mean, whatever, it is what it is. Then, but across the board would be nice. And while we're on that thing, let's get to damn 4 quarters in every level of basketball while we're at it.
Exactly, no kidding. No shit, we change it every step we take. Yeah, very confusing. All right, let's. I'm going to rip through a few of these other ones here. We'll get the stinkers out of the way. Not much to say about a couple of these. Your boys at Missouri State let you down. That train didn't come through this time. 42-30, they lose. And they were favored by a couple of points. So unfortunately, that didn't come home. Also, the folks at Wisconsin let me down. I thought that they would play better against Minnesota. That was another one that was in pretty nasty weather conditions too. So I guess you can't, maybe that had a little bit to do with that too. But surprised that Minnesota came away with it. 17-7, Minnesota wins it, and Wisconsin was getting a couple of points there, so didn't quite get home with that. And then Florida State did not come through as well, getting to the unders. They end up scoring 61 total points. The over-under was 50.5.
Another one was like impressive, but that was honestly the most surprising because Missouri State was kind of a flyer. But they were within 3 points there in the second half. But this one, I'm like, where the hell is this? These offensive, not, I guess they're going against bad defenses, but at the same time, even them scoring that much against anybody that was totally surprising. I was like, oh, well, I guess I got duped on that. God couldn't say anything besides like, I guess that just happened.
Yep, sometimes you misread them. That's that one happened there. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just that end of the year feeling for those teams. I guess try to lay it all on the line because they know they got nothing else going on. But 40-21, Florida wins it, and that gets to 61 total points. The other one, I had a late night one that did come through. So I'll mention that. Hawaii was a winner over Wyoming 27-7. It was close for a little while, but they pulled away. So the old Warriors came through to get me a late night win. That was nice to at least cap off the night with a victory. Another one that did not come through earlier in the day, and this was another one where, I got to the point where I was rooting against this team because I'm like, if you're going to play like this, you just need to lose. Oklahoma escapes against LSU 17-13. They were favored by 10.5, so of course not only do they end up winning, but they then don't cover. Got to the point late in the game where I'm like, I think they might just lose this thing, and then that's the way I was just kind of rooting, like, why not? Let's kick them out of the conversation here a little bit. But no, they ended up pulling it off, so that was another frustrating one there in the SEC. And then one that got real interesting and close as well. Or I guess it was interesting early. I'll get this one out of the way. My boys at BYU came through with another victory, so got to give them credit. They started the game poorly. They were down 14-0 to begin, and it was one of those deals, though, where, like, the studio guys made, like, a big deal about it. They're like, oh, look at UCF, and I'm just thinking to myself, let's wait a little bit here. This is going to change. And by God, it did. 41-21 ends up being the final. So, yeah, UCF finds a way to score one more time the rest of the game after that early start. I think it was a 31-0 run, if I remember right, for BYU. So, very impressive. And, of course, another nice win for them, and they cover once again. They were given 17.5, so they get it done by just enough there. And then the other one that was a little bit hairy in the late game there in the Iron Bowl, Alabama comes through. They were favored by 5.5. They win it 27-20, but boy, they had to go for it on fourth down to get the go-ahead score. It was a fun game to watch, but it was one of those deals too where as an outside observer, you're kind of like, man, as Alabama's just taking the foot off the gas here, like what happened? You let the game slip away. I mean, luckily they come away with the win still and get themselves into that championship game, but yeah, they almost blew it there.
Well, and they were unfortunate earlier in the game when Auburn had a touchdown called back for a penalty and ended getting a field goal on that drive. But they could have very easily found themselves in some deep waters there, been trailing late instead of tied. So that would have changed the whole complexion of the game. But yeah, the Alabama got up on them. Was it 20-6 at one point or something like that? And they seemed like, okay, we're just going to be an easy cruise to the win here, and just of course these teams it's one of those games where you expect the unexpected. We've seen it in the past, but even still, like, this is not even like a average Auburn team. It's pretty bad Auburn team. So for them to kind of make that rally, and I know they were at home, so that gives you a little boost. But I think Alabama kind of got the lead and felt like it was in the bag, and just kind of thought they could let up and just go, kind of play it out for the rest of the game, and that wasn't the case. So for them, luckily, they found enough plays at the end to come out with the win. But honestly, I was a little bit worried on this one. I was like, man, they're going to blow this game, because it was just anything they couldn't really do much right there in the second half until the end.
Yeah, I mean, when you start the game up 17-0, especially in a game like that, like, where you think one team's better than the other, you're kind of like, well, no big deal here. They're going to take care of business. But yeah, and that's what got me worried, honestly, in the second half. You mentioned, it being at Auburn. The crowd did get. I mean, they got going. It's like they were into it. Like, this is a problem. Like, sometimes that momentum is just a thing you can't beat. And I was worried there for a minute they weren't going to be able to. But what a hell of a gutsy play though on that. I mean, I don't know. Of course, it always is. You're a genius if it works. You're an idiot if it doesn't. But to go for it in that spot, and then like the ball that he had to throw. I mean, it was pretty much like you got to put it in this right spot for that guy to catch it, and he did it. So I'll give them credit for, I guess, coming through in the clutch there when they needed it.
For me, regardless if he made it or not, I think it was the right call. It's not easy to make, but as you mentioned, they were getting behind it. Auburn seemed to have a lot of momentum to get that stop there. So I think it's easy to say now, but I think either way, like, I'm the type of thing, like, you don't want that game going overtime or any type of extra than you could avoid having. So to go for it and get, I mean, whether you got it or not, of course you get it. Then now, like as you mentioned, you're the genius. But that's the right call. You can't when you're on the road, you gotta get out, get there, get in, get out, and get on with your life. Wasn't that somebody saying back in the day or something? But that's what you got to do, because man, it's that game is crazy, because man, you freaking have them, pretty much dead to rights there within like the first quarter, and then just you wouldn't even expect. You would have thought, turn it on in the fourth quarter and you see 20-20 or whatever, and you're like, this game's been close the whole way. I bet they've been having a battle. It's like, now they're getting their ass kicked to start the game, but I just somehow one play or a couple things happen, and then totally different thing. But yeah, that was much more of a nail biter than I expected it to be.
Yeah. It was interesting. It was a fun game to watch. I mean, they had another big fourth down, during that momentum run there as well that they had to convert. So there was a lot of I guess real anxious moments in a couple of those big games for sure here over the weekend. So that's how the picks played out. Not our overall best, obviously, but we hit a few, so it's not like we were a total wash on the weekend. Had a couple, and especially a couple, I think, that we had a little bit more on a higher confidence scale, so that helps as well. At least, stop the bleeding, I guess, so to speak, for the weekend. So we'll look to try to regroup and bounce back here for this upcoming championship weekend. Other games, I mean, we talked about some of the big ones, I think, that were the most important ones here for the weekend, but there were some other interesting ones to pay attention to. Of course, a lot of attention was to be paid to that game, a couple of games on Friday. The Egg Bowl, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Of course, the whole talk, I mean, you couldn't turn on a television station without hearing if Lane Kiffin's going to decide to do something, if he's going to take a dump today or not. But we wondered how they would play, and give Ole Miss credit. I mean, they apparently didn't let it affect them, because he came out and played well right from the start of the football game, and really controlled it and won the game, and put themselves obviously in a great position here at the end of the season. So hats off to them for the way that they closed out the year and kind of not let that stuff affect them. I mean, we talk about that all the time, and I don't know. It's hard to say, I think, sometimes how much of that is a reality within a locker room. I don't know. I've never played on a team and been in that situation to know what the mood or what the feeling is, but there's no doubt that it distracts you from the things that you're supposed to be focused on. Like, that it's a thing that's in people's mind, whether it's in the forefront of their mind or not, maybe not the case, but it's still something floating around there. So you have to overcome that, and it felt like they did that well.
Yeah, there's no way. Maybe distraction is not always the right term, but it has to be like part of the conversation or part of the equation. Like it factors in somehow. And there's also times where it might make some people do better because they might not like the coach. I think a lot of people like oh yeah, like everyone's like everyone's on the same side and everyone thinks this guy's the greatest thing ever. It's like maybe they're just playing out the string and they're playing the transfer, or they're just they're doing well and having success, and they don't necessarily like everything about where they're at, but they're going to stay there because it's a good it's going to be further there if they have aspirations of getting to the next level type of thing. So that's part of the that never gets brought up, where it's like you talk about now they assume players are going to just follow this coach to this school or that school. Maybe they don't want to play for him anymore because it's recruiting, isn't the same thing as like when you actually get to play for somebody, because they're going to tell you, oh yeah, you're my guy, I want you. Like everything's going to be great. Then when you get on camera, it's just like, F you suck. Like, what are you doing? You shouldn't have been a 0-star recruit, type of thing. So it changes real quick.
Yeah. So that was an interesting one, result wise. Another one that I thought was interesting, and I watched some of this game too. Georgia was really fairly lucky to come out on top of Georgia Tech. They kind of stunk it up for a good chunk of that game. They made the plays they needed to down the stretch. That was another one where they had to go for some fourth downs to help secure their victory as well. And, Georgia Tech, I'll give them credit. I think they're a tough team, but it was just like, you just felt like Georgia just kept kind of like shooting themselves in the foot. There were just like dumb things they kept doing and not executing on certain plays, or it was a big play and then gets called back kind of thing. They're pretty lucky really to come out of it on the winning side.
Nobody ever looks ahead if you listen to the interviews and all that type of thing, but it's pretty obvious in this case, kind of thinking about that SEC title game and with Alabama now, who they're going to end up meeting. So I think that's part of it too. Is this? You got to win this game to get there, but it really is not like that's not your focus. You just got to somehow, whether it's ugly, and it was in this case, got to get through it and make sure you get the W, and then all your focus is for the big one next week. So that's not. No one's going to say that, but just the way this game played out, and it's kind of been the case in a couple recent matchups of these two teams. It seems like, and I know Georgia Tech gives you a kind of a tough look, and it's not the style that a lot of other teams play. But there's probably no reason that this game should have been this close, other than taking your opponent lightly and looking ahead to the bigger picture, which makes sense. But it's also that's what gets you in trouble too, and makes these games end up being losses instead of wins.
Yeah, for sure. Couple of other games that were on the later portion of Saturday that I thought were worth mentioning. And we kind of alluded to before on the show last week that this might be one of the best games of the weekend, and it was exciting. It was fun to watch, but Vanderbilt finds a way to pull ahead and then control at the end of the game to come out on top of Tennessee, 45-24. It really was a pretty good back and forth for quite a while, until Vanderbilt started to pull away in the second half. It was a tie game at halftime at 21 each. Vanderbilt outscores them 10-0 in the third to get that advantage, and then they kind of just held them at bay there the rest of the way. Diego Pavia made some phenomenal throws again. There was a moment, and I don't remember. I'm going to probably misspeak here because I don't remember exactly how it played out, but they had a play. Oh, there was a roughing the passer call that I thought was just absolutely atrocious on Tennessee. It was like, he went up and bopped him a little bit after he threw the ball. And it was pretty much like balls out, boom, the hit. It wasn't a waited 2 seconds and then hit him kind of thing. Like, it was just one of those deals where I don't know that the defender was ever going to stop and not avoid the hit. And then, of course, it gave Vanderbilt another chance on that drive. They immediately throw a touchdown, and it was a big turning point in the game. So I hate when those kind of things happen, because I'd love to see it, just played out, because I thought Tennessee's defense had made a play in that moment. But that's the way it goes. And I'll give Vanderbilt credit from there on out. They started to control the tempo in the game a little bit and pull it away. But it's one of those moments too where it's just like, man, you hate to see those things. But I'll give Vanderbilt credit to they pulled off a good win, and hey, for them, first time they've ever gotten to 10 wins, so that's awesome for their program.
Yeah, the fact they won isn't really that surprising. That's kind of how I thought their game against Alabama and Texas might play out, where they keep it close and then pull away. But they were able to do this one. The surprising to me was the holding Tennessee to only three points in the second half.
Yeah,
and I don't think it was like some amazing defensive effort or nothing like that. But the fact that you kept them out of the end zone, whatever way you did, you were able to do that. So that's a little surprising they were to pull away for the win, because I wouldn't have thought they'd won by 21 points there. That's pretty surprising when you just see the score. I mean, I know kind of got a couple there late to make it look a little bit more ugly than it was, but just one field goal in the second half, that's pretty impressive, no matter who you're playing in these big time games.
Well, especially on the road too. I mean, that's awesome. And they had to overcome a couple of. I mean, Pavia threw a couple picks early in the game too, so they had to overcome that. So, yeah, give them credit. They did lock up their coach, by the way, this past week, Clark Lee, to a long-term extension, so I think that's good for them as well. Who knows?
Pavia staying with him.
Yeah, I don't know. Can he play more? He's got any more eligibility left? Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
But good for him. I mean, you got to use. I mean, you had that success. Get paid off it, because it's that's tough to come by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good for them, good for the program. It'd be interesting to see, if they can sustain that moving forward. That obviously is a very tough place to do that, in a tough league. But well, I don't know. They certainly found some good building blocks there. That's for sure. The other game that I did think was interesting, and of course this one had implications on a title game. I just happened to turn over to this because I saw the score and I was like, well, and I also had this part of a little late night parlay too, so I was kind of interested in what was going on. But old SMU found a way to step on their nards. 38-35, Cal wins it. If you were watching any of Game Day earlier, this was Coach Saban's big upset pick of the day, and he was right. I don't know how, but yeah, I mean, this is one of those microcosms of how wild college football can be. Because a week earlier, Cal gets their doors blown off by Stanford. They decide to fire their coach, even though they're going to have a winning season. They got to 7 wins with this win this weekend. But so they come back and they beat a ranked team that was supposed to go to the championship game in the conference, and they keep them out of it by beating them 38-35. SMU came all the way back. They were down, came all the way back to get the lead, and then Cal went right back down the field and got the score at the end of the game to overcome it and knock them out of that championship game. Just a pretty wild, kind of fun upset to end the weekend.
Yeah, that was, you see the score and like, I'm going to have to flip over this and see what's going on. But they're, I mean, I know they haven't been in that league long or whatever, but they're just one of those names where it's like, you can't trust it. It's just not, it's just so up and down. It's like one week it's like, man, these guys are pretty good. Yeah. And next week they just get freaking, I know this game was close, but they've gotten blown out by teams that had no business getting blown out this season. So yeah, that was probably one of the, maybe not like the biggest. I mean, I guess for conference-wise, it had implications, but not like the biggest in like the whatever the national, the playoff picture or anything like that. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like you see that you're like, man, I did not expect that one, and that wasn't one that I was like, this wasn't something that I was like, oh yeah, that could definitely happen. But I guess if you had Duke, Virginia in your ACC championship, we would have cashed in big this year.
yeah. If you get one of those teams, you made some money. That's a good one there. I will say that was one thing that was kind of nice over the weekend too. I did. Of course, we're going to get to our teams here in a minute. But we did the preseason, kind of talk about who we thought, and of course, I went with the old boring Alabama wins the SEC thing, and I thought that was a long gone lost ticket a long time ago. So it's like, oh, hey, shit, we still got a chance here. I'll take it. Yeah. I'll take it. But yeah, okay, we'll get to that now. We of course always recap our squads here as well throughout the weekend. And SJ, a frustrating Black Friday for you, I'm sure, as Nebraska did not find a way to stay with Iowa and loses there in Lincoln. Miserable day as far as the weather is concerned too, so that doesn't make things fun. But yeah, I guess your thoughts on how that played out for the Huskers.
Kind of what, unfortunately, is what maybe not the score, but how it played was kind of expected. As far as after that showing at Penn State, I just said after that recap, you can't have much confidence heading into that, and that was me. Of course, the team should have felt differently, I would hope, and the coaching staff. I thought they would have came in with a little more comments. And to me, I know it's hard to say what the score is lopsided as it ended up being, but there was points where there was a chance. I mean, you had an opportunity, but it's just you have this mindset of like we have to do this or do that, and there's like if something's working, and we talked about it with other teams, it's like don't do anything else. Like if it's work, I mean, your running back gets 200 yards in the game against some vaunted defense that can't be run on for even 1 yard, but he gets 100 yards in the first quarter. Let's just start throwing the ball around. There's no need to run it. Like we got enough yards for the whole game. Like fucking Skullet boy can't help himself. Damn Holgerson. He's always got to freaking try to outsmart with his little note card and air raid, whatever it is or isn't. So that's a little bit. I've kind of had frustration with that all season. You have one of the best running backs in the country, and you just refuse to give him the ball. It just doesn't make any sense. So I guess that would be my far as like, as about as deep as I'm going to get for like examining the game, because it was more of just like the mentality wasn't there, the want to wasn't there, the motivation wasn't there, none of that. So I can't say I'm not surprised that I kind of felt that way going in. Unfortunately, I was more felt like hopefully they prove me wrong, but I just didn't have a lot of hope. So that's kind of about where I thought it would play out. Honestly, I just figured it'd be closer because I didn't think they'd score that many points. But if you don't, you literally don't want to. Don't want to tackle somebody, you're not going to tackle somebody. So, that's just the basis of football. Like, you have to want to do it. But I do think it should have been at least, like, closer. And they could have been. And even, I still think there was probably a path to victory there if you would have just, I don't care if we get stopped, we're just going to run and punt. And I think you might have had at least maybe a chance at the end. Then you throw it at the end. But didn't want to do it, so you weren't going to win it that way, because that was the way you had to win that game with as struggles as you had defensively, like, in the big picture of things of giving up points and just not being able to stop people. You kind of had to shorten that game if you wanted to, or if you want to beat anybody. I said before, it wouldn't matter if it was playing against freaking any Division I team out there. I don't care who the opponent was. Like, you just weren't playing that well. So you had to at least do something well, and the running game was working, but you just refused to do it. So I guess that's the result you're going to get. So hopefully you get some, I don't know what you can really do here. There's going to be, man, you got to stay off on the online things.
Yeah, don't do it
all
there.
Kinds of bullshit flying around, but definitely got to make some changes, whatever that is. If it's like players, coaches, whatever. But I mean, to me, it's more like philosophy, strategy thing that needs worked out than it is personnel. But sometimes you got to change the personnel to make that happen too. So you kind of see. I guess you got a bowl game to get through, but it depends who you get. I mean, could be kind of the same thing playing out there if people don't want to be there.
Yeah. And I think you kind of alluded to, I don't think that the score certainly wasn't indicative of the game. I mean, 24-16 at halftime, and we're not talking about like you got blown out the entire game. And there was a late score at the end of the half too. That was, and I mean, when that happened too, it was kind of like you felt like that was maybe the the kicker, the nail in the coffin there.
Well, I don't think there was like I mean, to me it was whatever. It could have been, it was a big call as for the fact that targeting deal, like if that gets called, and then you take the safety off and you get the ball at midfield almost, like that changes it too. But either way, I mean, you're more to blame for that loss. That wasn't that type of thing to change it. But there was the moments where you're like, that's kind of it right there, judging on how the team was playing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like you said, I think too, I thought the same thing, like even if you're not handing the ball off to the guy every time, like if you're figuring out how to run a flat screen, you're figuring out how to run a dump screen, like get him the ball as much as possible. I mean, the guy's proven that he's terrific. They're not stopping him. I'm with you. I would have just lived and died by that. I mean, you don't want to get a guy hurt either, but it's last game of the year. I mean, let him ride your pony.
Well, there's probably a good possibility he's not going to play in the bowl game either way.
Yeah.
So it's just like if he's like leaving, like which you would think, because I mean, if you can get drafted, you got to go get drafted. You can't screw around.
Yeah.
So which that's probably likely the case. So I mean, you might as well go, going to go out. You got a few months to heal up.
And I did see a comment made, and I thought this was, very. I mean, it's nothing we don't know, but I just thought it was interesting that somebody actually kind of admitted to it or whatever. They were just kind of talking about how, you're losing to a team that they just have their thing. They have their thing that they do, and that's what they do. And he felt like, Nebraska just doesn't have that. And I think that's part of it, what you're saying. Like, you know, what is your identity? What are you your philosophy to try to focus on and be good at? Because we can't be good at everything. That's how football works. I mean, yeah, you want to, some teams, and maybe that's it. Sometimes your team is like, well, we want to be balanced. We want to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Sometimes teams are like, well, we're just going to run the ball, play defense, and punt the hell out of it, like Iowa does. That's what they do. And I think that's kind of where you've gotten to the point now with Nebraska. You've waited long enough. You've got a coach that's been around long enough too, that, hey, what's our deal? Because I just think a lot of people maybe aren't seeing it.
Well, yeah, probably the timing issue is getting the clock's ticking on you is where it's coming at this point. You got to figure something out quick, because you can't be like, you know, don't have these players. I mean, most of the guys on the either kept them or you recruited them, so you chose them. So now you have to, you know, either figure it out or start playing different players. Cause, I mean, there's plenty of spots where I think should have been, you know, changes made, but just for whatever reason weren't throughout the season. You see the same. Half the time you got to see the back of somebody's jersey before you'd be like, this dude can't cover. He can't cover anything. He can't play dead. Like, we got to get him off the field. But for some reason he's gotten the good graces of somebody somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's with every team that's the case. But there's, you know, just talking about this game, there's several. It's like, man, you got to do something different. But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to be like just run the ball, but in that case, that was the best chance you had. But that was the only, you know,
for that
this
day.
version was like the team. That was your best player. You got to get him the ball. So whoever your best players, you got to give him the ball. And kind of, I know a lot of people didn't like him or whatever, but it did show that. I think Raiola brought a little bit more to the offense than people gave him credit for. I know he's some can be annoying, and there's some of this other like, you know, stuff that comes with like some of that's a heavily recruited player. But I think there were a couple games that might have been a little different, just because it's like at least you have a threat of like somebody. You got to be honest at least, and you can't just leave the field wide open. Because I mean, I know the offense looked kind of bad early in the season, but majority of that teams are kind of playing just basically like a cover three, like they like really, you know, just we ain't giving anything up deep. We'll give up the dink and dunk stuff, and that's how they had to win games early. And I mean, you're still winning at least, so. I mean, it might not be the best, and you're not going to light up the stat board or the scoreboard, but, I mean, I take the W. I don't really care how it looks like. But that's, I mean, not everybody feels that way, but that's how I take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So not what you wanted for sure, but, that moves on there from now we guess, we see what happens here from players and bowl game and all that from that standpoint. Iowa State on Saturday went down to Stillwater, Oklahoma, and just kind of, I don't know. They did what they had to, I guess, is kind of what happened. It wasn't pretty. It was not. It wasn't a clean game by any means. Imagination. It certainly made me more nervous than it needed to. You know, you face a team that hasn't won a conference game in basically a couple of years, and you don't want to be that team that does lose to them. And there were a couple of points in the game where it's like, we're making this a little too close for that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I think that was kind of the plan. They just wanted to keep it as vanilla as they could. You know, tried to run the ball as much as they could. Relied on the defense, which, you know, did a pretty good job. The thing that was tough and what they gave up, and I think what I expected, was they gave up some passing yards, and they had another couple of defensive backs that were dinged up before this game, and we were already playing like 4-string guys. So it's like, okay, this is going to be a problem. Like, we're probably not going to cover everybody real well. And that was the case. They got beat a few times, and I wasn't surprised. And their quarterback, honestly, I thought in the first half played pretty good. He threw some good balls, which was, you know, something he hadn't been doing in previous games. So I'll give them a little credit too. They fought. You know, you never know, a senior day, that kind of gets a team up a little bit. A little more juice. But yeah, overall, I thought, you know, Iowa State did the little things well. They created a couple of big turnovers late in the game too, that helped, and that was good to see. Got some guys out there that, you know, hadn't had their chance to really fully shine because they've been up and down on the injury block, and that was cool to see too. Caleb Bacon had a huge game, and he's just been a guy that's fought through a lot, so it's really cool to see him, you know, shine out. And he's going to be back next year as well to play again, because he pretty much lost all of last season, so he's got another year that he's going to get for medical reasons. So that was nice, but a good way to end the season. I mean, you get to 8 wins, and you can't. I mean, it's disappointing still because you went on a skid, but at the same time, if it would have happened where they lost a game, then won a game, I think people would just feel differently about it because it wasn't like a losing streak, so to speak. And, you know, overall, I think a pretty decent season. Yeah, you would have loved to get a couple more of those, and one of them I think is inexcusable, but still, overall, not too upset about getting to 8 wins and the chance to get to 9, and that's nice for Coach Campbell. And I think that helps him also kind of, you know, maybe hopefully secure some of those guys in coming back and some of the guys coming back off of injury that they lost early in the season too.
That's all. I mean, that was kind of I guess not really the point of it, but part of the trick of the exercise we did before the season, because you just never know how the season's going to play out. The paper is always like, oh yeah, that's going to be like that, but injuries and just matchups and stuff doesn't go right, or you're getting those funks, and that happens for every team. But man, it's just there's always those couple games you're like, damn, I wish we could play that one again, because it's like, there's no way that happens like that again. But you only get one chance. I mean, football is like that crazy sport where you practice like 10 times as much as you play.
Yeah.
But you get like, 5 practices or 5 practices per game, and then one chance to do it right. So that's the trick of it. But man, it is wild to see. Like, I know it hasn't been that good as of late, but just looking at how Oklahoma State was like 1-11 record. I mean, you win your first game and then just go lose the rest. That's freaking crazy. I mean, like, not that. I expect them to be that great, but it's like you think you get 1 or 2 here or there, just and they had a couple close games, but just like, man, that's I don't know, that's rough.
Well, to me, in a place like that, that's like inexcusable. There's no way they should be that bad.
Well, you got plenty of, you could recruit in state, and Texas is right, within reach, within a couple 300-400 mile radius of your campus. You should have at least a 500 team minimum every year. A 6-win team isn't much to ask for. And
we're talking, only a decade ago, they're a team that's in the conference championship and national championship conversation. Like, it's not like it's never been done there. And that's what's so surprising. I mean, I guess it's not surprising the way it played out, because you did hang on to a guy that was not keeping up with the times, so to speak. And, it just kind of crumbled around him, and I get that. But at the same time, too, that you should still have enough talent at a place like that to be able to overcome a little bit, like you said, just to win a few games here or there. Like, to have a 1-win season at that school is pretty wild to me.
You're dropping games to Tulsa.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when we're talking about the reorganizations, the conferences and stuff, I mean, that's a team you look at and like, oh, they could have a chance to be the bellwether of the Big 12, and they're so far from it now. It's like, I don't know if they can come back from it. It's going to be interesting to see what they can pull together now, because they've found themselves a pretty big hole at the wrong time, I think. But yeah, that's kind of the recap there of our squads here for the past weekend. We'll look ahead here a little bit as well to the upcoming weekend of championship games, and we do have some pretty good ones here on the schedule. We'll get into talking about that. Of course, it'll start earlier on in the weekend. There'll be some other games that'll be happening as well that we can take a look at, but. I guess, SJ, first off, anything, I guess, as far as the championship games are concerned, maybe ones that you're most looking forward to watching here this coming weekend?
Well, I mean, honestly, Friday night isn't looking too bad with, I think that Tulane and North Texas could be interesting.
Yeah.
I know Tulane's been a team that you've had your eye on quite a bit this year, so that might be something we take a look at. And right now they're a 2.5-point underdog, so shoot, that might make it on the list this week. We'll see. And then, of course, I'm always on that UNLV train. I like watching them play. Usually they're always kind of fun. And then in Boise, it's kind of been a bit of a kind of rivalry with over the last few years. That seems like it's, if whoever wins the season, don't worry, they're going to match up again in the conference championship. But then, of course, I just feel like that Indiana, Ohio State, of all the ones that, to me, that I'm still, I don't know, I got to see it from Indiana against one of the big dogs. I know they beat Oregon this year, but man, this Ohio State team's real good, so that's a tough spot. I mean, I kind of imagine both of them are still going to be in the playoff. This is just like a matter of seeding.
Yeah.
But, man, you don't want to lose this game. And, I mean, I guess that worst-case scenario, as long as it's close, you're still going to get like a home game. But you think you want that bye, but I guess last year we saw you got a bye. It wasn't the best. No. So maybe go ahead and somehow, lose very close and then you just run the table like they did last year. I don't know. But that to me is a little bit different matchup, because with Georgia, Alabama, how many times can we see the same damn thing?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's not near as, and especially the way that season's played out, it's not near as one of those juggernaut matchups that we're used to, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I was like, when you think of the best teams in that league, I don't think those are the first two that pop in my head.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
There, so.
You're not wrong. So yeah, and that was an interesting one to see who would end up there in that first place. So I don't know. That's not as exciting as I would think. So I'm with you. I don't know. I hate to still be that guy. I don't want to keep hating on Indiana, but it's like, man, I want to see you do it against the one, so to speak, and this is it. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if they can hang or not. Right now, Ohio State's about a touchdown favorite. So. We'll see how that plays out. I got a feeling that, I don't know, that Ohio State could run away with that one a little bit. I'm interested to see if BYU can change the narrative this time against Tech. I mean, I don't necessarily think that they're going to win again because the Tech is really good, but I do think that they can make it interesting and make it a fun game. So that'll be one that I'll keep an eye on too.
That at the minimum, take that 13.5 freaking points. That's a hell of a spread in the conversation.
That's
yeah.
I agree. And BYU's only gotten better, so to speak, since then. They played well. It's not like they've looked like trash. So,
well, in that game, I thought they played pretty poorly. I can't see them playing that. I know Texas Tech is they're not taken away from their victory, but I do think that a lot of that was Texas Tech played well and BYU played about as bad as they could.
Yeah. Yep. I don't think you're wrong. And it was, they played bad from the start too. That was the problem too. They kind of gained a little bit of traction at one point in the game, but yeah, they got themselves in a hole they couldn't dig out of. So that'll be fun to pay attention to. All right. Of course, we also have to touch here on the coaching carousel. All kinds of coaches going wherever you want to go. At least we can watch a football game now without hearing about what Lane Kiffin's going to do.
That poor Marty Smith. He looked like. I mean, the first time they showed him, he's kind of like, I'm live. I'm the only one here. And then about the third or fourth time you see him, and the best was it says a decision is imminent, and it's like they keep showing. It's like, do you guys understand the definition of the word imminent? Because it didn't happen until about 18 hours later, or maybe even longer, almost 24 hours later. And they just have the poor guy there, and I get it. He's doing his job. It's not like he's going to just leave. But that was there's some pretty good memes going around with him. Aging him with the Moses beard, saying, I haven't seen my family in 18 years, and just going off about because he's still. And then they did that weird interview where he's standing in some. I mean, I don't know if
like a parking lot.
Been in that state. Been in that state too much, but it's not like it's the best aesthetically, pleasing landscape there in Mississippi. But this did not do it any favors. I was just looked like in a damn that's like a prison yard or something.
Of course, the jokes, of course, are flying left and right, and not only because of that, but because of the decision too, and the way that he propped it up with I've got some praying to do, and think of all this, and
stop, man.
Whatever. I mean, you've got a decision to make, but let's be real. We all know what this was at the end of the day. It was money. They gave you a boatload of money, and you thought, I can't really turn that down. I mean, that's what this boils down to, because you're coaching at a school that beat the team that you're now leaving to go coach, and it's not because you couldn't compete with them consistently, because you probably could if you just stay there at Ole Miss. I mean, granted, the monetary backing isn't quite there, but at the same time, the ridiculous expectations you're walking into are also not there. So, I mean, that's the thing here. It got really old with both Florida and LSU. I mean, I almost thought at some point, you're almost better off if you're the school that doesn't get him, because it's just, you have this wild expectation that's going to be like, oh, this guy's going to come in and win us the national championship. And we all know that that's probably not true. I mean, Brian Kelly thought that too. How'd that work out? So, I mean, and at the same time, I mean, he's a good coach. He's had a good run, but we still don't know that he hasn't proven he's going to win a championship anywhere either. So, what are we throwing all this money at? And we've been talking about this all season long. All these schools that have gotten themselves into hot water because they've given guys too much damn money, and you need it now more than ever. So, it's just a wild situation to me.
Yeah, that was the first thing. I never really got the attraction of him. I guess is he's been fairly successful, but as you said, he hasn't. What we're talking about here isn't just a 9 or 10 win team. You're talking about winning it all, and he hasn't done that anywhere or come close to it. So I get that you probably feel like you have more resources and a bigger profile and all that when you look at LSU compared to Ole Miss, but you also have a lot more cooks in the kitchen when you have a governor saying we're going to pick the coach and he's who knows what else he wants to do. I mean, you might as well go coach at Texas if that's the case, because that's about the same type of thing. So yeah, that's what I don't get is he could have coached at Ole Miss until as long as he wanted.
Yep.
If he just stayed there and maybe one year you luck out with 12 teams or 16 team playoff, or maybe eventually a 24 team playoff, and you go on a run and you win one, or you get to a final or something, and you'll be fine. There's never going to be that, oh, you didn't make it, we're going to fire you the next year. Like, not at Ole Miss. Now LSU, if you don't win it within, I guess 2 or 3 years at minimum, maybe it could be next year. Who knows what they're expecting? But it seems like it. Other than the money thing, which I don't know. At some point, like, do you ever have enough?
Exactly.
I mean, many millions does this guy already have, and he needs a few more? That's what I don't get. It'd be different if you're talking just like your average Joe that's making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, and somebody finally a job pops up where he's going to make 6 figures. Of course, you're going to take that, or even a crazy amount of money. You luck into something wild, yeah, but. I understand, like, you see the numbers and you're like, oh wow, that's crazy, but that's not. I mean, that's not the game these guys are playing. They have more than they could never work a day the rest of their life and probably not blow through the money they have stashed away.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, because hell, at one point he was making more than most coaches as an assistant somewhere. Yeah. So like, he's no problem there.
Probably still getting paid for some jobs he's been fired from. For all we know, like
that might be true. The other thing too is that I think that sucks about this is I was also in some ways starting to kind of like the guy in a few things. Like, he'd say some things that are actually kind of like, I appreciated that he would joke about things. Yeah. You're not going to be able to do that now. They're not going to take that like with a grain of salt at LSU. Like, you're not going to be able to go tweet and make those comments to somebody and clap back at them. They're not going to. No, they ain't going to fly anymore. So,
if someone calls you a hoe from now on, you just got to be like, oh, guess I am.
Yeah. And the guy wasn't wrong apparently, but
I'm like, dude, he literally like totally bitched out though. Come on, man.
Yeah.
But he seemed like the type. He just looked like a total dweeb. But I'm like, if you're gonna say that, at least like stand on your business, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did, because when it happened, I did appreciate like that Lane like just flat out called it out. Like, I agree. Yeah. I agree. You shouldn't be doing that. Like, if you're going to be a professional, be a professional.
Well, that's the thing. They kept saying like the journalist. Like, how is this guy a journalist?
That's
a Barstool dipshit. Like, that is no journalist.
This ain't. Yeah. Well, that's the problem. We don't have any real ones left. And then we've created this problem ourselves. But that was interesting. But and at the same time too, with the way that people, I guess, are reacting to it, like, I don't fault them either, because they showed the picture of all those Mississippi fans on the tarmac, like flipping him off as he's leaving in his plane. It's like, I mean, that's how I'd feel about it too if I was a fan of the team. Like, screw you. And the whole fact that he made this out as like, I wanted to stay and coach these guys and they wanted me to stay. Oh, bullshit. They didn't care. And good on the AD for telling you to piss off and get out of town, because there's no reason you should stay. If you want to leave, leave.
Yeah, I honestly thought they gave him way more of more leeway than they probably should have or would been like justified doing. Because how many coaches have signed extensions when another potential job that they could be linked to opened up, and within a week or so they were like, nope, I'm staying here. I mean, you could go down the list. There's plenty. And that's just this year, let alone in the past. So if you really wanted to stay, you could have worked out your contract or whatever you needed to do well before today. So I don't think that was the case. I think he always wanted to leave, but I think he wanted like the best of both worlds, because he did. I mean, whatever wins they had this year was under his watch.
Yeah, and
so
I get that.
I wanted to try to get all those wins and then make a run, or if they, get in the playoffs or whatever the case. So he wanted to do that and then kind of, be carried off into the, right off into the sunset, and then freaking, I'm sorry guys, I'm leaving. We just, so he just wanted to do it both. And I don't blame, I can't believe they let it go. I would have just, it'd been kind of hard to do, but now knowing that he was going to leave anyways, I'm sure the fans wish they would have just fired him, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I get that it's like it's a bad situation for everybody. And I don't know what the answer is, because the problem is with like how the calendar works. And, you almost wish that it wasn't possible for anybody to sign unless they didn't have a job. You almost wish it was impossible for any coach to leave one program and go to another until after the season is over. That would be an ideal world, obviously, because kids are attached to people that they went to go play for, and you should fill out, live out your season and then make that decision. But the way it's set up, these guys got to make a choice now where the hell they're going soon, and we only got the one window now after, the early window, which makes sense for later down the road, because you don't want guys making their decision come fall either. You got to have them on campus for a while to prepare for the season and know what team you have. So there's kind of not an easy way to figure it out and where the middle ground is. At the end of the day, that's part of your tough decision. Like, if you want to live out this season and this dream you created, then you got to say you're staying. And he just didn't make that choice. So
yeah, I guess to defend coaches as much as I would, it is a little tricky, because as I've seen with team I follow or just other teams in general, you could be like, oh, I want to stay here, and everyone's like, he's leaving. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not within like the last month or so. So you can't really win for losing. So, but that's not, in this case, that's not Kiffin. He kind of, alluded to things, and then kind of, make his remarks and do this or that. So he kind of played it up. So I wouldn't give him as much of but other coaches that have freaking been like, oh yeah, I want to stay here. Then everyone's just like, oh, he gone. It's like, we just, you can't really, there's no matter what you can do. It's hard to kind of win in this situation, but that's just kind of the nature of the business and how it goes. So, there's probably, rumors about some other coaches here. Just even some of the, coaches you might mention here, it's like, is he going or not? Because someone's like, oh, it's a done deal. And then other people are like, oh, they're close to reaching an agreement. So, it's a strange business when it comes to like the transactional side of it.
Oh yeah. And we've already had a couple of those moments as well, where we've heard the guy, supposedly he's signing a deal here, and then you find out 2 days later he's going to another school. So
right.
That's also part of that media cycle, I guess, we have put into place here. But so that was the one domino, of course, that needed to fall before a lot of other things were going to happen, and now it has. So Lane Kiffin to LSU. John Sumrall then has been hired by Florida to take over their job. He comes over from Tulane. He was just hired here today as well. So that was kind of expected, I think. That was the next guy in line, so to speak, for them to pick from and bring in. So we'll see. Like I said, honestly, I think maybe Florida ends up in a better situation than LSU does, just because of all the hoopla that's been surrounding this. So we'll see how that plays out. Alex Golish, he was one that was in this weird, I heard a couple of days ago, he's going to Arkansas. He's going to be the Arkansas head coach. Well, no, we find out today that he has been hired by Auburn. So he's moving over there from South Florida to coach Auburn after Hugh Freeze was fired. Arkansas is hiring Ryan Silverfield. He's coming over from Memphis to take over that job. That was also announced here today. He's, of course, taking over for Sam Pittman, who left earlier this season. Stanford is hired Tavita Pritchard. They had their coach Troy Taylor, who was fired earlier this year. Went way earlier, actually. Fired back on March 25th. It was really an odd situation they had going there. But that was kind of part of the whole Andrew Luck taking over the GM role there at Stanford kind of thing. And they have a weird whole transitional flip going there. So that's what's happening there at Stanford. Jim Mora moving over, interestingly enough, from his alma mater at UConn over to Colorado State. So he left there to take over for Jay Norvell, who was fired earlier this season. That's one of the more interesting moves, just I guess because of the situation. Like you would think, why would a guy leave from a place that he's from? We all know that Jim Mora's had his weird things in stories. I mean, he knows who killed Tupac. So, I mean, whatever. But he's
the wanted man.
Yeah. So now he's going to tell everybody out in Colorado Springs, I guess. That's a weird deal. I guess why Colorado State too? Like, that's not necessarily a place that you would feel like has got all kinds of resources to give you.
Yeah, I would have probably been less shocked if before they hired Dion, was Colorado would have went for something like that. That would have made more sense, or that type of level of school, even like a different Mountain West school wouldn't surprise me as much as maybe the two we mentioned earlier, UNLV and Boise State, something like that. But yeah, who knows? Maybe this feels like a change of scene is needed, and still wants to coach. But yeah, that's a interesting choice. Could end up, maybe it's one of those things where you feel like you know how much pressure, and you're in you think within talking about Oklahoma State earlier, you think it's an area where there's a decent level of recruiting, at least regionally, so you should be able to have a decent amount of success. But not that it's been a while since Bradley Van Pelt walked through those doors.
Yeah, no kidding. Oklahoma State hired Eric Morris over from North Texas, so that was just announced before their game this past weekend, so he'll be stepping into the role there. He's done a very good job, obviously, there at North Texas. Of course, we already heard that James Franklin moved over to Virginia Tech after he was fired from Penn State. And then the one other job that's been filled out there is Kent State. They've hired Mark Carney, who they had promoted to an interim role already there. Other schools that have fired guys that we're still kind of waiting to see what happens include UAB, Oregon State, UCLA. Cal, of course, who I just mentioned earlier in the program, did recently fire their coach. Of course, now South Florida is vacant, along with Tulane. Coastal Carolina fired their head coach, Tim Beck, after they ended the season with a 59-10 loss to James Madison this past weekend. So they are bowl eligible, interestingly enough, but they have fired their coach, which is an odd thing to do. And then Michigan State fired Jonathan Smith. I did see a note earlier today, and it apparently hasn't been officially announced, but according to reports, Pat Fitzgerald has been hired as the new head coach there at Michigan State. So that's also an interesting comeback story.
Yeah, well, that was one of those where I kind of see mixed signals there with saying some sides reporting it's a done deal, others saying is an agreement being worked on. So, But it sounds like that's probably going to be the way it's going to end up. Which I know people kind of want to say, oh, he did really good at Northwestern, but did he actually really? If you look at we'll see, because it's like that was like it's one thing to take a team from zero, a 0-win team, a 1-win team, a 2-win team to like a 7 or 8 win team. Michigan State's had some decent success. They were in the conference championship conversation not long ago with, so there's a little bit higher expectation there. I know you got some big dogs in there, and now you have that was before, Oregon, USC, and the West Coast schools joined. So that was a different Big Ten, but still, you're competing against, the Iowa State, who's been, as dominant as they are now, and they were doing well against them. So that one, I'm kind of curious to see how that one plays out, because I don't blame him. You knew he wanted to get back in because it wasn't like he left on his own accord, and I still don't think he was exonerated to the level he thinks he was, or other people want to give him credit for. But whatever, people didn't feel like talking, so that's what happens. And then another one, I don't know if you caught this one. This seems like almost like breaking. I don't know if we have breaking news on this show, but the reports are that Kentucky's firing Mark Stoops. That's from On3. So I don't know. We'll have to get at least another source there, but that's recently, within the last few minutes, that's been reported by On3. So could be.
Yeah, that's interesting too. A guy that not long ago everybody was talking about where's he going to go elsewhere. So I guess now he maybe won't have that choice. That's a interesting development there. And of course, we're going to have more. We've got these jobs that are open now, so they got to be filled by somebody else, and then somebody else gets bumped up from another level, and eventually you get some new guys that get their shot. So that's how this all works. We'll keep you up to speed as best we can on that week to week as we see it coming. I'm sure there'll be a lot more fallout after the championship games here this weekend, and as teams have their season start to wind down, we'll hear more about those scenarios too. All right, that's kind of what we've got on our slate here for you this week. We, of course, will get you geared up for some championship picks later on this week, so we want to make sure that you are locked in to all of our channels, whether that be on social media, at SGM Bets, at Cherokee CP. Those are our handles. Follow us there. We'll provide our picks and confidence levels for you on those games in that location. Of course, if you'd like, subscribe, get the notification of the YouTube channel. We'll have those video picks for you for those championship games later on here this week as well. And then if you would like, subscribe, get the notifications for this show as well, wherever you may listen to your podcast. Our host happens to be at Spotify, but anywhere you go, if you would just search Every Day We're Covering, you'll find it. And then make sure you hit that subscribe so you know when those new shows are available to you and just filter into your feed. I know that's how a lot of folks like it now, the convenience of it just kind of showing up when you're listening to what you like to listen to on a regular basis. So appreciate all that support if you can give it to us. And, of course, we welcome any feedback you may want to give as well. Just hit us up there on Twitter and we'll get back to you. That's SG Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. Thanks for joining us for another week of Every Day We're Covering. We'll see you next time for some more covers.